everyone. Welcome to our March 9th, 2022 Somers Planning Board meeting. Would you please rise for the pledge? Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Can we get a roll, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
Chairman John Curry.
Here.
Vicki Gannon.
Here.
Nancy Gerbino.
Here.
Dennis McNamara.
Here.
Jack Mattis.
Here.
Bruce Prince.
Here.
Christopher Zaberto.
Here. Thank you. Before I start, this is something I wanted to mention for 3 months now. Back in December, we had a little storm, so some members missed the meeting, and then January and February, we resumed. I wanted to wait till we met back in person to acknowledge a great thing that happened to one of our members. Nancy Gerbino last year was inducted into the Westchester County Senior Hall of Fame. And when I first heard this, I thought it was because of her skiing prowess. But it's not. As you all know, she's been an integral part of this board for years. But what maybe some of you don't know is for years, she was a newspaper reporter, and more importantly to this town, she was instrumental in a lot of our master plan. So all these years that I've worked with her, it's always been a pleasure working with her. She's always, as you know, has done her homework and comes prepared. And she will probably tell you that she's been in this town before we even had indoor plumbing. That's how long she's been in this town. But she's a great asset to the board, and congratulations, Nancy.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
First on our agenda is the draft minutes for consideration from February 9th, 2022. Anyone have any additions or comments? If not, I make a motion we accept as they were presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next is time extension for Somers Sanitation for their improvements and additions to the existing transfer and recycle facility for the property known as 241 Route 100. Really what this is just an extension for the site plan signature. I believe they're waiting for a few more permits, and that's really all it is. So if there's no objections, I make a motion that we grant that extension.
I second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
And for the record, that will be from April 23rd, 2022 up to and including April 23rd, 2023. So
one-year extension?
that is a one-year extension because it's not really a project in a work. This is just for the site plan signature.
It's a signature.
That's why we can do a year.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you for clarifying that.
And next and last, I would like to point out on our agenda for tonight is the executive, it's the Masteroni Brothers Wetland and Watercourse project permit, protection permit for improvements to 12 Hillside Drive. This property, for the record, it's at the intersection of Overhill Road and Hillside Drive, and it's in an R40.
Like the push pins?
And also for the record, we're in receipt of a memo from Woodard and Curran.
Yeah, that's the same.
We're working on new technology, so just be patient. Right, Paul? Yep, it's getting there.
Don't blame the applicant.
Good job.
Perfect.
I think we're good.
Close enough.
You're good.
Don't touch it anymore.
There you go. Good evening.
this project was back on the agenda, I think it was either at the end of November or the beginning of December. And we had a full field walk in December. I think several members came out, where we're looking to widen Hillside Drive from 14.5 to 15 feet, so out to 16 feet, so that we conform with the common driveway standard, so that we would have the ability to develop and build the house on 12 Hillside Drive. So we've been working through the process. We've received the engineering comments in December, responded last month, made our submission, and we're here tonight.
Could you just, for the record, state your name? And,
Paul Lynch from Putnam Engineering.
Thank you. So, Steve, you want to go through? your
Sure,
memo,
Paul.
please?
Would it be helpful for the board to kind of walk through some of the changes and modifications that you made to the plan?
Yes, we can.
Or just provide an overview of, especially the stormwater elements.
What we've done since the December comment letter is we introduced some stormwater treatment for the actual individual lot, and we'll have stormwater planters that treat the roof. So those stormwater planters will treat the roof runoff. We've introduced a drainage swale to come down Hillside Drive and actually create a sediment pond, which would be this area right in here. We looked at trying to do some other stormwater management techniques, such as an infiltration trench, but we couldn't meet any kind of requirements because you have to have some pre-treatment volume areas, and then you would have your actual trench itself. So we decided that the sediment basin actually would function sort of in the same way, because what you're doing is you're capturing and treatment the runoff. You're slowly going to let that water leave that sediment area because you want the sediment to fall out. And then that would ultimately pass into a new catch basin, which would come out, and we would introduce a plunge pool on this side of the street just so you would get like the flow to, come out on various points along that and just flow into the wetland, as opposed to now where there's exactly a couple of drainage crossings that just discharge if they were working, but they're not. We'd introduce another swale at this end to capture anything coming off of this lot to bring it down so that we just have one crossing. Now, this project has also been submitted to the New York State DEC, so they're reviewing it from their perspective on, the DEC regulated wetland and what we're proposing to do.
And Paul, this is the last house. There's no houses beyond this. This is an extension of...
There's one house past it.
There's
That's
one
right. Thank
down
you.
at the
Okay.
end of the road.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Which is probably another 600 feet past us.
That's right. Thank you for the reminder on that. So our notes on this related to the stormwater, we just had a few little confirmations and clarifications between soil type in the report and in the HydroCAD model. We were looking for some additional information in accordance with the town's SWIP requirements for maintenance of the erosion sediment control measures, some additional detail for the stormwater planters and rain barrels just to confirm sizing and make sure it's all properly documented. We know that with the driveway standard that's being applied, it I think is a good idea for the town since it limits the disturbance in this area and it keeps the roadway consistent with roadway widths in the existing development. But some additional turning analysis for a fire truck would be helpful to have. I did coordinate with the engineering technician, Steve Wolfel, who's continuing to have some conversations with the highway department and building inspector to confirm that everything is in alignment with what they need for their vehicles and per code.
That's fine. Yes.
I think we just need a kind of final updated steep slope and stormwater management, erosion and sediment control permit applications that reflect the changes made. And so I think that there's some minor cleanup that probably just cleans this up and makes it something that the board is then complete and can act on at that time.
We need a letter from the fire department too, right?
Correct, and,
Yeah.
and Mr. Wolf is working on that.
Okay. Dave, you have any comments just before I turn it over to the board?
No, other than I did speak to Steve Wolfel earlier, and his concerns were echoed with the ones that Steve
Okay.
and you had raised. So you want to make sure that those were in the record, and they are.
Okay.
Thank you.
I meant to go to the tax maps, and I forgot to do it. And what I was curious, there are no other parcels, is that correct? They're just the two houses?
Correct.
You're proposing, and then at the very end, 600 feet away, another home.
That is correct.
But there are no other subdivided parcels, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay,
It's town property.
yes.
You're making a turnaround. He's gonna make a turnaround at the edge of his property. How does this refer to the house at the far end of the road? What happens when a fire engine goes down there? Do they have a turnaround? Do they have a turnaround down there? Or is that just the end of a driveway?
Right now, that's served essentially as a driveway to that, like a long driveway to that house. And this is essentially putting another house in the middle of that driveway, if that is the right
Is that
analogy you would
driveway
use.
14 and a half, or is it 16 feet?
Right now, the current width is,
It varies from 14 and a half to 16. So depending on where you are, it varies.
But if the unit at the end of this hill, at the end of this road gets into a fire, is the only way that the fire trucks are going to get out of there is what, back up to your turnaround?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
If there were a fire today, they'd have to back all the way out to Overland Road.
Yeah, no, I'm not finding fault. I just want to make sure that's the way the fire department doesn't have a problem with that.
So in reality, it sounds like an improvement to the current structure.
It already
right?
exists.
To what the applicant is saying, if there was a fire at the house that's currently at the end of this road, the fire department would have to back all the way out to the main street.
Right.
Whereas now, with the addition of a turnaround, they would only have to back from the original house into this turnaround, and then would be able to swing a couple of moves and then flip back out to overlook. So I actually think this was an improvement in its design concept.
Yeah.
and it is worth noting that there is public water and a fire hydrant at the end of this road.
Yes, correct.
Isn't there? I think there's two, if I'm not mistaken. I
Yeah,
think Bruce and I did the
Yeah,
walk.
you're right,
This is
there's
the
two.
road that's
And the guy that lives in the
gravelly
house
now?
is in the fire.
Right.
One was asphalt. Yeah, okay. I refreshed that. Yeah, I think we found the second fire hydrant. Yeah.
Any other board member comments, or do you have anything else to add?
No, I'm fine.
So based on your recommendation, we'll let him come back and then probably schedule a public hearing at the next meeting. Does that sound?
I think that's
Like a good
appropriate
timetable?
and would give highway and fire a chance to
Chance to-
reply to
Yes.
this updated plan.
Okay.
If we get those boards.
If we get the letters from both of them, yeah.
Okay,
All right.
that's good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, I'll make a motion that we close our meeting. Followed by then, we are going to go into executive session. but-
Second.
Just for the record, our next meeting is Wednesday, April 13th. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.